All right, coming in at number 22 on our Locked On Senators NHL draft rankings, we're going to Pilsy's neck of the woods from the Guelph Storm. It's Jett Luchanko.
Ross, I'm going to do my best not to have my Guelph Storm bias on, but you don't even need much of a bias to like Jett Luchanko here, as he's very consistently and highly rated from all of our entities, Ross. We'll get to that in a second when we pop that up. But with the Guelph Storm, in 68 games, he had 20 goals, 54 assists, good for 74 points. He had 3 assists in 4 playoff games. And then in the U18s with Team Canada, he had 7 points in 7 U18 games. So you can see this is a player that's able to put up points consistently.
You can see it on the production, but don't look away when he's on the ice, because you blink and you miss him. He's the fastest guy easily every time he's on the ice, it seems, in the OHL. You watch the video, he's blowing past defenders. He's hit on the forecheck. To me, he's just playing the game at a higher speed than 99% of his competition. And with that, he sets the pace for his own teammates as well. And he just he's the heartbeat of any line he's on, it feels like. So I'm a big fan of Jett Luchanko. I like what he brings to the game. Got to talk about the fact that he's a bit undersized, but he makes up for it in terms of his motor and how quick he is to get onto forecheck. And who knows, could still be growing too. An August birthday, one of the youngest kids in the NHL draft this year. So I think for me, if he's the pick for the Senators at 25, I'm pretty happy with that, because he does, to me, have high upside and maybe more of a playmaker than a shooter, but I like the qualities that he brings and as a skater and as a guy with some upside as well. So Jett Luchanko comes in at number 18 on Chris Peters' rankings, higher than anybody else. Corey Pronman at 19, Craig Button at 20, Bob McKenzie at 26, McKean's at 21, and then Elite Prospects actually is the lowest on him at 34, despite naming him the 3rd best straight line skater in the draft and the 5th best motor, as well as the 5th best two-way forward.
Yeah, now we know EP values skating, and being a top end straight line skater doesn't necessarily mean you're a fully well-rounded skater. You know, it's all about your stride, your edges, your pivots, things like that too, that maybe EP isn't so high on him. But the speed, you certainly can't deny. And you mentioned it, the playmaking. He's an elite playmaker that can set his teammates up. The highlights I was watching, Ross, you got stretch passes, you got hitting guys backdoor for tap-ins, you got perfect passes for guys in the slot right on their tape so they can one time it. Any way his teammates or line mates want to pass, Luchanko's going to find a way to get it to them. And it's that playmaking ability that has scouts and prospects, analysts so excited about him. But one thing, Ross, is you look at a guy that has 74 points in 68 games and you see that dash 13. Now, we know plus minus isn't everything. Got a precursor that stat with that every single time. But I did a little digging, Ross, not that much digging, but a little bit of digging. And I kind of found out why. 33 of his 74 points came on the power play. And he had 30 power play assists, like 30 power play assists in 68 games. This guy's able to get it done on the man advantage. Now, I'm not saying that's a total knock on him, but it is something to look at, that maybe the 5-on-5 play isn't as elite as it looks when you just see 74 points in 68 games. But Ross, what I like about Luchanko is you see him putting up those big points and you might think, okay, this guy's slacking on defense. Not the case. He's a great two-way player, and he uses that speed to play effectively on defense too, and he keeps the tempo going. If you want to talk about a player with pace, Luchanko's your guy.
Oh, Luchanko led his team in scoring by 3 points, and other than Braden Bowman, who was right behind him, those two were like 20 points clear of the next guy. And if you read into the season for the Guelph Storm, they didn't realize that Poitras was going to make the Boston Bruins. So all of a sudden, Luchanko is getting an opportunity to be the number 1 center. And EP actually said they're comparable prospects, Poitras and Luchanko.
Yeah, I see it.
I mean, yeah, and I don't think Luchanko is going to be jumping in 2 years and playing NHL games necessarily, but he's a really nice prospect, and I think he could be next year among the league leaders in the OHL with scoring. He's that talented to me, and If we can get the production up at 5-on-5 to what it is on the power play, I think there's a real nice prospect in here.
Yeah, definitely. And Ross, you're not the only one. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of scouts that are high on him. Like Peter's having him at 18. That definitely is big. And you got Bob at 26. So he's going to be a first rounder for sure. I think he's going to be kind of a late first rounder, somewhere in the Sens range. Like at 25, this is a good pick for the Ottawa Senators. I think he projects to be a high-end third-line center that can play up in the lineup in short spurts. And I think he's going to become kind of an offensive penalty killer as well. You know, one of those guys that you can rely on him for his defensive instincts. But if there's lazy D-to-D passes from opponents' power plays, he's going to sneak up there and he's going to find a way to get a breakaway. Now, only 20 goals in 68 games. You would like to see a little bit more of a goal-scoring talent for Luchanko, but I think he was just in such position to set up his teammates that the playmaking was shining a lot more, and I think we're going to see those goals bump up a bunch next season.
August birthday as well. So much room to grow. He had a great U18s with 7 points in 7 games. Some scouts calling him an unsung hero in the tournament. Now, a Western Conference scout told Elite Prospects that he's one of his favorites in the draft, just combining the smarts, the energy, and the motor, and playing the right way with some deceptive skill and hockey sense. Just seems like a complete player. And we know that the Sens have strong ties to the Ontario Hockey League, so they've seen a lot of Jett Luchanko. Pilsy, your Sens stars for Jett Luchanko.
So I've got Jett Luchanko at 3.5 stars, Ross. I like the player here, but I just think you're looking for, if he's going to be the first forward selected with the Ottawa Senators, and possibly, in my mind, I have the Senators selecting 2 defensemen and 1 forward with the top 3 picks. So if he's going to be your only forward in the first 2 rounds, I'd like to see someone with a little bit more offensive upside. I think there's some players that could be a better fit here, but if your team just drafted Jett Luchanko, I think you're going to be very pleased with him. And like you're saying with his teammate Matthew Poitras, it's probably not too crazy if a contending team with a shallow prospect gets him, and they're like, "Hey, we want a 2-way centerman that we can trust to play in our bottom 6." It wouldn't be that crazy for him to be one of those players that gets to the NHL quicker than some of his peers.
Okay, that's Jett Luchanko coming in at number 22 on our Locked On Senators NHL Draft Rankings. For more, go check us out on YouTube, where you can find 80 draft profiles.